Alright, so again, because I'm getting a bunch of errors when I'm videotaping this, we get 3 here, those are placeholders. 3 here because the 0 is sandwiched in there. Those 3 zeros are placeholders, so I get 3 significant figures, the 1, 0, 2. Here, all of them are significant because once the decimal comes in there, we basically are having a measurement of some kind that measures out to this place. This is where you have non-significant figures, here and here. Now your adding rule. Your adding rule says, what does it say? Yes. You're going to use the smallest number of decimals in your answer. So you're going to use the smallest number of decimals, whatever that is, in your answer. So if there's only one, if there's 1 decimal, then 3 decimals, and 10 decimals, you're going to use 1 decimal. So you're going to use the smallest one. Basically, you're limited by the one that is the least accurate measurement, and a tenth is less accurate than a hundredth or a thousandth or something like that. So we have to go to the tenths, and we're stuck there. Now, I didn't put this in there, but multiplication, use the smallest number of sig figs. So you count up the sig figs of each number that you're multiplying, each factor. Math word, factor. Yeah, I know, math. You never get away from it. And you use the smallest number. And that you'll see that when we do our calculations here. Now, rounding. Remember, we don't ever want to change the magnitude of the number. This number up here, 85,769, we want to round it to 4 sig figs. What I like to do, and what I had to do when I was first learning, is I underlined the 4 sig figs that I wanted. And you're going to start from left to right and figure out you get 4 sig figs. That 9 is going to change the 6. Is it going to round it up to 7 or stay 6? Round it up to 7. 8577. Now, if you look at the number, though, we started with 85,000. Now we're at 8,500. Are they the same numbers, the same magnitude? No. If a bank made that error, you'd be on the phone yelling and screaming because you're like, you lost like $72,000. That's why we have these placeholder zeros. Because by putting that 1 0, which is an insignificant 0, insig fig. That sounds like a boy band. Insig fig. It sounds like a really bad boy. Well, most boy bands are bad, but that insignificant figure here, what it does is it keeps it at 85,000, and that's what the placeholder zeros do. Is they keep it at 85,000. Yes, we can round it to 4, but we got to make sure that our final answer is 85,000. This one still is 85,000. And the numbers are what we need it to be. Now, the rest of them are pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3, 4. This 4 is going to make me round. So that 4 is going to round this 4 to what? Keep it at 4, right? So it would be 76.54. Then 4, 5, 6, 3, those are the 4. That 4 is going to round this 3 to what? To 3. So it's 456.3. Now we got 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So the 4. So this is one where my typing was bad, and you had a 4 to make your decision every single time. That 4 is going to round that 7 to what? It's still 7, so it'll be 5.567. So you're able to actually do the rounding. Now the math here, how many this is adding. The first one is adding. So we have to count up the number of decimal places. How many decimal places for the first one? 3. How many for the second one? 3. How many for the third one? 3. How many does my answer have? The answer has 3. Now, anybody know the answer to this one? What was that? No, that's the other one. That's the other version. 105.420. I just didn't want to add them. So you had version 1. This is version 2. But you would have been correct on that one. All right. Now the next one is multiplication. So we're talking sig figs here. So for this guy, we're talking sig figs. How many sig figs in 24.24? 4. There's 4. How many in 3.26? 3. How many in my answer? 3. Anybody know what the answer is? 79.0. It was 79.02 or something like that, and the 2 will just round the 0 down. Now this guy, how many sig figs in 120? Oh, 2. The 0 is a placeholder. How many in here? 2. That 0 is a placeholder, but the 1 and the 0 comes, when the 0 comes at the end of a decimal like that, it's significant because it tells us that we were able to measure out to that place. So how many are in my answer? 2. I know the answer to this one's 12 because 120 times 0.1 is 12. So that's your rounding. That's everything that we needed to know about our rounding from there. Any questions?